Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday, the 18th of October. So just a quick comment first. Yesterday someone commented that I did a little update in the afternoon and commented that all that information and you're telling me you're not trading. Well, I'm not trading on markets that are not tradable or have a high risk. I mean, it's all about managing risk, and if the risk is so high, such as the yen at the moment, the best thing is to avoid it. And I think it's important that retail traders know you just don't willy-nilly need to trade everything and all of the time. There's times where you've got to just sit back and not trade. So if you hear me saying I'm not trading this at the moment, it's for good reason. I don't particularly want to put myself into even more risk than there is in these markets regardless. So there you go. There's the cautionary tale at the beginning. You might not find anything that's moving today. So let's have a look at firstly the risk events that are occurring today, which we will see price action around. Let me just, it's refreshing. Here we go. He says it's not refreshing. Just give me the same. There we go. So it's refreshed. So what we saw yesterday, then we saw the core retail sales coming out quite a lot higher than expected. Now when we look at the technicals, this obviously moved the technicals only to move them back again. Sort of Canadian data less than expected, so we saw quite a hit on the Canadian dollar, but even that came back to where it was. So these figures are having a very short-term effect effectively on the market. If I can get another effective in there, I will do. This morning we've already seen Chinese data out there. It's better than expected in terms of GDP. Retail sales are higher. This is all good news there. Inflation in the UK, we've just got that figure out there, CPI 6.7 versus 6.6. It's higher than expected, and the Bank of England are expecting that the interest rate increases they've made will take a little bit longer to work their way fully through. So hopefully this will be quite a lesser effect on the pound from that point of view. Right, today then we've just got building permits later, and we've got a couple of speakers. Let me just check what other speakers we got kicking through here. 8 o'clock. Okay, ECB 8:30. Really, there's a whole bundle of speakers this evening. Or late afternoon there, 7 o'clock onward. So not a great deal during the daytime. You just got to be careful. The news yesterday was news that it'd been released last week. It somehow through the system, well, I think it was Bank of Japan, one of the Japanese government speaking, that made it move, but he only repeated what had been said, but the markets reacted accordingly. For those people that obviously don't follow anything, maybe. So where are we with these markets? We start off looking at the euro dollar. Still in the bigger picture it's looking southbound. However, as I said yesterday afternoon, with the fight that's going on here, it could be about to reverse. We'll see. It's double topping in the short term this morning, so we're seeing this double top coming into play. If we can break out of that, fine. But you can see that he's putting higher lows in, or has put a higher low in back here. Bit of a messy, a couple of higher lows in there, and it was recovering quite strongly post news. So we saw a higher move effectively at the end of all that than we did beforehand, and it was reasonable strong US data. So where to today? I think it's a patience game. If it breaks these lows here in this trend line, it would be right the way back down into the afternoon for me to even look at that, and probably too late at that stage. But it might be on for the short side. But I'm looking here to see if we get anything at all that sets up. I mean, the double top here is a bit of a red flag at the moment, but things change post 8 o'clock. We'll see this sort of selling off now. We saw it yesterday, it was selling off only for it to rally in the very next bar. then of course sell off. But we just need a bit of patience first thing this morning. We can't time things perfectly with a video such as this, of course, or sometimes we see something that's about to go, but it's not the easiest thing to time. But what we can look at is what might appear. The pound dollar, well, is consolidated day in, day out. We've just seen this consolidation running through here, making it quite tight. It's a bit of a mess in terms of what we're seeing here. Almost a pennant that's sort of kicking in there. The most only a 50% chance going either way, and it's as I say, really don't like it. It's pitched out a little bit. If you've been drawing the lines across the highs here and the lows, it's pitched out a little bit into that news. But again, double top. I'm not going to suggest that this for a moment this is going to roll absolutely over, because the way these markets have been moving, there is the potential for a bit more upside. We was running quite strongly a week or so ago. US dollar yen, well, this is the risky one and I'll stay out of it. There's no point really looking at it too much. There's too much risk sitting in it, and maybe with the yen pairs, got to be very careful with timing. We still see, I mean, all the yen pairs had that blip yesterday. It's just an element of risk that's sitting there. Australian dollar, another one. It's on its third. It's on its third day at the moment. Again, it's putting higher lows in on the shorter time frames here. Quite clearly, already moved quite a long way. We saw that yesterday. It pitched up in the morning quite a bit, only to chop sideways mostly. Even come off in the afternoon on the news, only to finally push up there. Anything retracing possibly back towards the 34 or 50 might be worth looking at. Where it is at the moment, it's just it's probably done too much, already run into its R1. The probability of the R2 being hit is a lot less. It's only about 20%. Now yesterday, of course, we had very pinched pivots. These pivots are slightly more spread out, but and it could still be hit, of course. Got 20% chance, or maybe more, but anyway, we just need to wait for retracements here. Dollar CAD, it's in quite a mess. It's again, yesterday it did make a recovery, even though the inflation came in lower than expected. It's just look at where things are going now. It's pointing to the wrong point there. It's looking like it wants to break down. I can't remember why I've got this alert on there, so I've got to take that off. It's been on there for so long probably, but it has put, or is putting, if it breaks this low here, it'll be putting a lower high in, and as I say, recovered pretty well yesterday and could see further downside. New Zealand dollars just following the Aussie dollar's tone, a bit flatter, a bit slower. Pivots are relatively pinched. Nothing there for me at the moment. Dollar Swissy a little bit more dynamic. Overall, it does look like the money is going back into the Swissy a little bit here. Certainly from the commitment of traders sentiment, we saw money going back in towards the Swissy, so from professional money. So could be a sign of the times here. It's putting lower highs in. It's looking bearish on here, but again today at the moment, well, it's come back to its quarterly pivot there, and might find a bit of support off that this morning. A breakdown below that just sees it even more bearish for now, but holding fire. Euro yen is just one of those that at this stage it's in two minds whether to leave the thing alone altogether. It's not setting anything up at the moment anyway, so we'll be steering clear so long as it's not showing anything. The other cross pairs, euro pound, really potential longs on this at times, but it's all right once it gets going. It's all this chop in the meantime. We might see it get cracking later this morning, so I will watch for this. If it turns around completely here, I'll just put a signal, an alert up there. I'll just bring that down a little bit. but I'll pop an alert on there and see if that sort of generates post 8 o'clock. That's certainly been pushing through. It's just such a mess at times. It's more of a swing, always more of a swing with the euro pound, but needs analysis on the big time frames and wider stops. Euro Aussie, the usual suspects. This is breaking down again. We saw this yesterday. It had already broken down so far. It didn't do too much. Come sort of 7-8 o'clock, it had bottomed out. Spent most of the time then retracing, so untradeable as it sits here. Euro CAD didn't even make it to the back up to the highs here at the moment. Euro CAD might roll back. I'm just looking at the mess that sits there as it is. It's in this trading range effectively. It's got into over the last week, this week. Maybe it'll come back towards the bottom end of that range again. It's looking a tad on the softer side, but I'll be looking below, taking any trades below the daily pivot on that. Right, there isn't a great deal more sitting there at the moment. There's a lot of chop, lot of risk on that basis, and not the best of patterns. So at this stage, I'll be looking throughout the day and see if anything starts to materialize, anything does improve. Looking at the other markets, quick look at gold. So as expected, well, gold held on yesterday. It's pushed on past the trend line here with the risk. It's maybe a place to be at the moment on the retracements. It might give opportunities at the moment. It's just running into a quarterly R1, so we probably get a bit of reaction to that. Even if it eventually breaks it, there'll be divergence over the highs on this time frame as well. Okay, that's gold. Oil. So oil's starting to recover a tad, but not overly solidly, but it's starting to recover. Coming in yesterday afternoon, really post afternoon into the evening, really it started recovering there, breaking the highs there, giving us another higher lows. We've had a couple of higher lows now. It's a slow old path. We'll see what develops during the day. Yesterday really couldn't do too much. Normal sort of time, 2 o'clock. It pitched out there at 3, but really didn't do too much, so I tend to leave things alone. It's been through the Asian session there that it's really moved the best. Equity markets, very briefly now. S&P's consolidated. You're just going to see this through these. The Dow Jones slight rising consolidation pattern there, but really the equity markets are just sitting back at this stage and probably best avoided. He's just got to know when not to trade these things. We had two almost inside days, not quite, but on the DAX, same sort of thing, just consolidating as we go, as I'm running through this at this moment. And the FTSE, again, a bit like the Dow, just pushing up that little bit more of a rising trend running through there. You can just see it better, on the 4 hourly. And the hourlies there, so the higher lows coming through, but lots and lots of chop. I mean, you can trade this or try trading it. It shot up at 8 o'clock yesterday, only for the next 6 hours or so to go pretty sideways and choppy. Too risky for most people. Coming off a little bit at the moment, the inflation might affect it. Well, we'll see, but it's too early to say here, and too messy. On that note, trade carefully. Take care out there. Catch you later. Yeah.